it's a bit difficult, but they're only minor things. We've got a few problems again today, but hopefully they'll have them sorted for the race.
Now, Alton Park, it looked to be going well. During the race, you were getting some good pace on, weren't you?
Well, that's right, yeah. We had a problem again on the Friday on the test day, whereas the engine blew. So we had to put a spare engine in, which was a brand new engine, which didn't belong to me. I was very kindly lent it, and I couldn't rev it to more than 5,000 revs. Because we also missed qualifying, I had to start from the back of the grid, and I was told to overtake no vehicles unless it was safe to do so, which again caused me a few problems. So from what I had, yeah, it did well. The car went well. So we're hoping to come here today and do even better, but we've now got a few other problems.
Right. It was fuel related this morning, wasn't it?
It was fuel related, yes. We've just got a fuel surge on the car, which we hope to have cured for the race now.
Darren, round one winner. Moving on to Silverstone. What's it like out here today?
It's not too bad. It's a bit slippery. Well, when we first went out, it was a bit slippery, but it's quite a fast track. I've never actually driven this format of the track before, so it's all a bit new for me today.
Yeah.
So I'm just getting back into it, and hopefully by the end of the race, I should be all right.
Yeah. It's the short run down to the first hairpin, really, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah. It's a lot faster than you'd expect. It's probably one of the fastest straights, I would have said, as opposed to Snetterton or Thruxton. So it is quite quick round here.
Yeah. And how's the car handling?
It's not too bad. It was a bit oversteery before, and we softened it off a bit, but I didn't really get a chance to test that in qualifying, so we'll see what it's like in the race.
Great. So where have you qualified?
I'm pole.
You are pole?
Yeah, I'm pole, so I want to have a good race. Hopefully Tim get his car all going all right, and then we can have a good race together.
Yeah. So Mark, good qualifying today?
Yeah. What I was getting yesterday in testing, was hoping to get a little bit better, but track temperature went quite up, so yeah, pleased with that.
Yeah.
Hoping to be a bit closer to Tuscans, but we'll see in the race, see if I can keep with them.
So what brought you into TVRs?
Well, I was getting a bit long in the tooth with all sorts of other types of cars, and basically, I think 1998, I'd finished racing national saloons, a disastrous year with a little Cavalier, and WLA, who are based down in Larkfield in Kent, had a couple of Tuscans, and I thought I'd give it a go. And it took me back to the days when I was doing Thunder Saloons back in the late 80s and early 90s with a huge car called the Stars and Stripes. So since 98, really, this has been home for me, and I think probably it'll be the last car I race, so I'll continue for a few years having fun with it.
Marshall certainly had fun in that car last time out at Alton Park, where he took second place, but he only lines up fourth on the grid for today's second round of the challenge. Cars about to leave the assembly area for what will be a 20-minute race, and they're being headed out there by number 6, and that's Andy Holden, who starts from the outside of row 1 with Darren Dowling, our round 1 race winner, on pole position this morning. Dowling was 7/10ths quicker than Holden with a 1 minute 0.358 of a second lap, 97.75 miles per hour. That works out as the green flag then is waved at the back of the grid. We are about to go racing in round 2 of the Dunlop Tuscan Challenge. The race gets underway now. Who is going to make the best start? Is it going to be Dowling or Holden from the front row? Maybe it's going to be Dean Cook or even Tim Hood from the third row of the grid. Hood certainly making good progress. He's up into 4th place behind Marshall as they go through Copse for the first time, going rather slowly. There is the number 9 car of Richard Wright, that is, through Copse for the first time, down the short straight towards the left-hander at Maggots, then the tight right-hand hairpin at Beckett's, and Darren Dowling gets it all wrong. He said he'd not raced on this lap. Now we're on board with Andy Holden at the start of the race on his roll cage, so it's an absolute bird's eye view if you imagine a bird perched on this TVR Tuscan in an absolute gale, 100 mile an hour wind it would be like, heading down towards Copse for the first time. See the cars ahead of him, Hugh Marshall ahead of him there. The leaders further into the distance getting away. Past Hugh Marshall we go. Now there we see Dowling go wide ahead of us, but on our inside goes the black car, and that's the Sagaris that is absolutely alongside Darren Dowling, going down towards Brooklands for the first time, but into the corner. Hood is already ahead, so Hood takes the lead of the race 2/3 of the way around the first lap. The Sagaris into the lead of a Tuscan race for the very first time. Darren Dowling goes down to second place then. At the end of the first lap, there's only about a quarter of a second between these two. Blasting across the line for the first time in what ought to be a 20-lap race around the Silverstone National layout. All being well. Hood it is that leads then from Dowling in second place, back on board with Andy Holden. 100 miles an hour coming out of Copse over the white line there that marks the pit lane exit. Holden in third position at the end of lap 1. He's around about a second or so behind the two leaders. In fourth place at the moment is number 11, that's Steve Glynnock from the third row of the grid, but Tim Hood now beginning to make a break from Darren Dowling. Is he going to be able to get away? That's the question. On board on the Sagaris now, and that bonnet mounted camera. There's the number 7 car of Dowling, who closes up a little bit through Woodcut that time. Holden still there in third position, coming through to complete lap 2 then. It's the Sagaris that is in the lead of the race of Tim Hood. On to the third lap now. The gap pretty much static at around about 3/10 per second, something like that. And there's some smoke, I think it was smoke anyway, coming from Holden's car, so we'll keep an eye on that one as this race develops to see if Holden is able to continue. A little bit of a locking of the wheels and the brakes there from, I think that was our race leader. It doesn't appear to have cost him much time. Dowling runs out wide on the exit of the corner. Under the bridge they go, along the National Straight, in towards Brooklands again and again. A lock of the tyres for number 7, that's Darren Dowling. Turning into that tight left-hander at Brooklands. It's a very good overtaking opportunity, that corner, having been able to slipstream all the way down the National Straight. Sagaris once more. But comes through to complete a third lap. Absolutely rocketing past the start line. A very impressive noise those cars make, as much as anything else. On board with Holden again, and you can see some smoke coming from the front of that car. He gets a little bit crossed up going into Brooklands that time. I'm wondering if some oil is possibly getting onto the tyres there, but certainly Holden finding it rather difficult to control that car. Some smoke coming out of the back, and I think we're going to see Holden dive into the pits, I'm afraid. So as he goes into the pits, we will go into a break. We'll be right back after this. Back here at Silverstone, there is number 20, that's Dean Cook in third place. He dropped to 5th by the end of the first lap, but Cook now, with the novice crossed on the back of his car, up into third position. He's around about 15 seconds or so behind the two leaders though. Tim Hood in the second, number 14, the 21-year-old driver in the TVR Griffith. Trying to win class speed this season. Running slicks on this car is Mark. Former BMX racing champion as well, so a varied sporting background for Mark, who makes his way into Brooklands once more. He, as we've mentioned, is in the TVR Griffith, 5-litre V8 engine on that 1994 car. He turns through Luffield and Woodcut corner now. There's Darren Dowling, number 7, not too far behind Tim Hood. Less than a second, I fancy. Gap having come down possibly a little bit over the last lap or so. Hood crosses the line once more. Hood with experience in tin tops as well as sports cars, but as they go on to lap 9, it's not counting for anything, because up into the place goes Darren Dowling. Down the inside at Copse Corner, the fastest corner on the course. It's a real ballsy corner, that one, and if you can make a pass there, you're doing very well indeed, as Darren Dowling has proved that time. The gap at the end of lap 8 was 0.2 of a second, but it was swiftly overturned by Darren Dowling, who now begins to get away from the Sagaris down the straight. Sagaris with that big wing on the back. Runs a little bit lower than the Tuscan. It's got bigger wheels too. But in terms of performance, there's really not a lot to choose between them. Number 55 there is Kevin Gore. He runs a little bit wide coming out of Beckett's. Back on board with Mark Hockin now in the number 14 car. He turns into Copse Corner. Sadly, the speed readout there not working on that car. It'll be very interesting to see what kind of pace Hockin was pulling through Copse Corner. It's Ian Jones and the Griffith that's behind him. And they're only just ahead now of the leaders, so about to go a lap down to Darren Dowling and Tim Hood into Brooklands. Dowling already clear of one of the Tasmans. He gets through ahead of Jones as well, but well, I thought Hood was going to have to wait, but he gets clear as well. They're now going to chase after Hockin, who's pulled clear of those other two slower cars. Hockin, who's doing all right actually, he's running in 6th position. So there now is Dowling chasing after Hockin. I beg your pardon, that's number 41, isn't it? That's Graham Walden. The Kidderminster IT Company Director. 27 going through there is Cliff Jobson. He's about to be lapped by, I think, Hugh Marshall there. Here are the leaders. Hood closing in, under braking for Brooklands on Darren Dowling. Not quite close enough to challenge yet. They've got some lappery to do. Through goes Dowling. Is Hood going to be seriously delayed by the number 9 car? That was of Richard Wright, who's done some 750 Motor Club racing about 20 years ago, but came back into TVR's last season. So Darren and Tim go through, Dowling and Hood. The gap now is something like 0.8 of a second as they cross the line. Now that time through Beckett's, I've got a feeling that Hood is a little bit closer. He's going to have a good run on Dowling up the straight. He's in the slipstream. He's going to be able to have a look down the inside on the brakes there. We saw Dowling, I think, Hood a bit later on the brakes into the left-hander, past the international circuit rejoining, but through indeed goes Tim Hood into the lead of this race, but trying to fight back around the outside is Darren Dowling in the number 7 car. Hood, though, in number 10 goes through Woodcut Corner to complete the 14th lap. Hood leading by 0.2 of a second. Dowling fights back into Copse Corner. He's made this move already in this race on one occasion. He's done it again, but this time he's going to run wide on the exit. I think that means that Hood gets back alongside on the exit of the corner. Down towards the left-hander at Maggotts they go, but more significantly it's the right-hand hairpin at Beckett's. I think that Hood's made the place stick again. Yes, he has. So it was a short-lived lead that time from Darren Dowling, with Hood having fought back. Up the national straight they go once more. Dowling tries to find a way alongside. They're going either side of a couple of back markers. Absolutely crazy stuff. Who's going to get into Brooklands first? It's Tim Hood and Sagaris. Second for the moment is still Dowling. And those back markers, they'll have got the fright of their lives as these two race leaders came through. Nothing to choose between them through Woodcut Corner, because now Dowling's fighting back. There's two more back markers ahead, but going round the outside this time is Dowling. Absolutely alongside one another as they go through to complete the lap. On the inside this time it's Hood, on the outside it's Dowling, and Hood for the moment holds on to the position. But we are into the last quarter of this race. Has Dowling got another answer? Starting lap 18, Dowling this time goes down the inside and through, back into the lead of the race with less than 3 laps to go. Goes Darren Dowling, but again on the out exit of the corner Tim Hood gets the better run. How's that going to transform into the lead into Beckett's. Well, it's Dowling that holds on for the moment. Through Beckett's for the final time. It's Dowling from Hood. Hood gets back alongside. He's going down the inside and through. Back into the lead. Yet again goes Tim Hood. It's been a nip and took battle, some smoke there, I think, from a locked up tyre of Darren Dowling, who fights back. Coming through Luffield 1, Luffield 2, and into Woodcote Corner they go. Dowling tries to find a way past. On board we go with Tim Hood. Do we see Darren Dowling nose alongside us? No, we don't, but we do see the checkered flag. So Darren Dowling has to settle for second. Tim Hood, the race winner then, in the second Dunlop Tuscan race of the year. Number 20 coming through in third position. That's going to be Dean Cook. Well done to him. The third of the overall finishers and the Class A cars. Fourth went to Mark Cockin. In fifth place, Steve Glynn in the Tuscan. The first of the Tasmans, yet again, Tim Broughton in sixth place overall, ahead of Graham Walden.